Hi, and welcome to another episode of Asetena Conversations. So, my name is Kwame, and today I'll be talking to who?
So I'm Esi,
Yeah.
and I work as an administrator in higher education, and I'm a content creator on YouTube as well.
Oh, that's nice. What's your channel name? Do you want to tell the people?
So my channel name is Winging It with Esi, and basically it's about my experiences as a first-time mom in Ghana.
That's nice. Okay. Um, so, how's it going far, for example, with your channel?
Really well, I would say. I've been on YouTube for about a year and 4, 5 months ish. And I started it because during my pregnancy process, I was watching a lot of pregnancy videos on childbirth and the whole process. But most of the channels I was watching were people in the UK, US, outside Ghana. I couldn't find any YouTube channel in Ghana that was geared towards motherhood and how motherhood is like in Ghana and their experiences. So that is what motivated me to start
Would you say
my
the
own.
things you were watching were not relatable enough?
Um, well, when it comes to like recommendations, like let's say where to buy this or that. A lot of the times, if you're watching a channel which is outside of Ghana, they're talking about Amazon or Walmart or Kroger or CVS or some other shop that you can't have access to in Ghana. But if I'm talking about something that I bought in Ghana, at least my Ghanaian audience would identify more because then I can say, okay, I bought a Palace shopping mall or Melcom, or I went to this dental clinic and or saw this pediatrician. Like things that would help the journey for Ghanaian mothers in particular easier or make it helpful for them.
Okay. Um, During your pregnancy, did this curiosity come from the fact that you didn't have people in your circle to ask these questions?
I had people in my circles, and I didn't realize that later on, after I gave birth, that would come in handy. So I had friends that I would ask, so how was childbirth like for you and everything. But I was really curious. Like I wanted to see what people like when you get to your first when you're in your first trimester. Like what are some of the symptoms? Even though like there are all these baby apps like Ovia Pregnancy and Flow and Baby Center. Like when you go on YouTube, it's somebody who is like you talking about their cravings or their problems that they are facing with their pregnancy. Okay, and we are in week 16 and this is my bump and this is what I'm facing and stuff like that.
So the
So
storytelling made it more relatable,
yes, very relatable so that you
like it's
understand that okay,
real.
it feels more real than reading it on an app where an app is telling you that your baby is like the size of a raspberry this week or something like that.
Yeah.
But at least yeah, listening to somebody talk and they're also giving solutions to one issue or the other that they're facing. Like when I'm turning in bed, it really hurts. So this is the solution I've come up with to help with that, stuff like that. So it makes it more relatable and it's just interesting. And I just like watching those videos. So yeah.
How excited were you to be a first time mom?
I was expecting it, so I was pretty excited when I found out that I was pregnant and going through the motions. My pregnancy was, I would say, for the most part, I enjoyed my pregnancy. And it was, I mean, it came with its challenges, but it was exciting finally feeling the kicks and the movement. So you feel like you're bonding with a little human, and sometimes you're just in awe of the fact that there's an entire human being growing inside of you. So that was really exciting for me. That part was really exciting.
And what were some of those things that you didn't particularly enjoy?
Some of the things I didn't enjoy about pregnancy was sciatica, which is a nerve. There's a nerve from your waist down that when the baby is growing, your uterus puts pressure on that nerve. So it's not everybody who experiences it anyway, but it causes you to limp because it's really painful. really, really painful. So I didn't like that about pregnancy. And then I didn't like the fact that my face got really dark and my neck got really dark and my face swelled up. That was in the latter parts. So I didn't like that about pregnancy. And then the one thing I really, really detested about pregnancy for my pregnancy was acid reflux. So right from the start of the pregnancy, around I think 7 or 8 weeks, whenever I ate something, it will feel like the food is like stuck here, like it's stuck in your throat. And it's so uncomfortable that the only way I could find relief was to stick my finger down my throat and just throw everything up. Then you're fine. So it was much later that I read about it and came to know that it was acid reflux. And it's like once you get pregnant, something about your stomach size, and it's like everything is cramped up in here. So it's like you have to eat much smaller meals more frequently, and don't drink like too much water or any fluids while you're eating, because then it makes it worse.
Wow. Were any of the, of course you hadn't been pregnant before, so it's not something that you would have expected.
Yeah.
Were you annoyed by it?
Oh yes, because well, at least from week 20, 21, it kind of calmed down. But so basically for 3-4 months of my life, that's how I felt. So I would eat and I would be so uncomfortable. I would just go and take a shower and just throw everything up, and we are fine in life.
Are there no meds for this?
So I tried Tums, which is supposed to be safe for pregnancy and helps with indigestion and acid reflux. Yeah, it's an antacid. But it didn't really help with that in particular. So the only thing I could do was try and eat smaller meals. And then it's not too much of an issue. And then I couldn't drink regular water. It had to be ice, brain freezing cold. So I had a pink bottle that was double insulated. So I always had a bottle in my bag, and there was ice, and there was ice cold water everywhere I went. Like my close friends used to tease me about it, but it wasn't the fact that you're feeling hot inside, so you need to cool yourself down. It's just about the fact that if you drink lukewarm water, room temperature water, or regular cold water, it makes you nauseous, literally, like you just want to throw up. So it has to be brain freezing cold. And the funny thing is, when I gave birth and I tried drinking the water, I was like, this is too cold. How have I been drinking this for the past, 7-8 months? But yeah, it's like once you give birth, then a lot of the things just vanish suddenly.
Interesting. And do you remember, I want to ask about the labor period to the first time. Do you have what's your child, a son? Or
a boy, yes.
A boy. So do you remember what was going through your mind going into labor? Because a lot of women have different stories. Were you scared?
I wasn't scared because I had watched a lot of, I talked to a lot of friends, and then I'd watched a lot of videos on YouTube and prayer. So I was confident that I can do this. There's one midwife in the US. I was watching a lot of her videos. So like I felt like I was prepared. I was looking forward to it. So when the contractions started, I was like, okay, we can manage this. Like it's kind of okay. But by the time we got to the hospital, and my baby shower, I ruined my baby shower because I went into labor 2 hours before my surprise baby shower. So by the time the doctor said, okay, those are contractions, get to the hospital, that's when my husband was like, they've planned a surprise baby shower for you. I was like, who does that at 38 weeks? So we went through the baby shower. I was there for like 20 minutes, ate something, cut the cake, and then we got to the hospital. And then the contractions became stronger. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to live through this. So at that point, I forgot about everything that I had watched, basically, because it's like
life kicked
different from like, I don't know, it's like you watch.
Yeah, but reality is different.
Reality is different. So sometimes the advice is like, when the woman is in labor and the contractions are coming in, rub her back and it will feel better. I realized that I didn't want anybody touching me. Like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. So a friend went with me and my husband to the hospital. She was sitting behind me and she tried to rub my back, and I realized that no. I was like, no. We get there, the midwife is like, okay, rub her back. I said, no, nobody should touch me. Just leave me alone, you know. So it's like, and then as the time progressed, initially I didn't want to take an epidural, which is medication that helps calm the pain of the contractions down. But finally I was like, no, I can't do this, so I need epidural. And they're like, you didn't ask for it when you came in, and right now where you've dilated to, we can't give it to you. And I was like, nobody gave me education about that. Nobody educated me on epidural and when you should ask for it and when it's too late, you know. So that made it a bit more difficult, because it's like, okay, now I'm really in pain and I feel like I'm suffering, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to wait it out till the baby comes out. And so I'm expecting to deliver vaginally, but then the doctor comes in and I'm not progressing after about, I think 5 hours after I got to the hospital. And so it was like, okay, we need to do a CS because the baby is in distress and we are finding it hard to detect his heartbeat. At which point I was relieved. I was like, just take this baby out of me. I don't mind going through a CS. I wasn't going to be one of those women. It's like, no, I don't want to do a CS. Like, what matters is this pain is gone and this baby is here. So they called for everything and then they rushed me to the theater to do the surgery. Yeah.
How did you feel seeing your son for the first time?
You know, first of all, I wanted a girl and I was expecting a girl. And so when we had the first scan and they told us it was a boy, I was like, are you sure it's a boy? Because all the dreams I've been having dreams of a girl even before I got pregnant, you know. So then week after week with the scans, I kept thinking that it would be one of those situations where
you got it wrong.
Even though, exactly. So when I remember when they took him out and then the nurse came and showed him to us. So my husband was by my head, showed him to us, what gender, like, this is your baby. I don't have a memory of his face, like a first memory of his face. I just went straight down to see, is it really a boy? And then by the time I could look up again, they whisked him away to go and do whatever they needed to do with him.
How did you feel about that?
Oh, I didn't have any feelings about that. Okay. Because I think I was just relieved that, like, everything was over. And I don't have any memories of, like, whether I felt disappointed that it was a boy. The disappointment came with the first gender scan, but I dealt with that. So I was like, okay, it's a boy. Case closed.
Okay. And how was it like starting your motherhood journey? What was happening for you?
So I was in the hospital for 3 days. And then it was when I was released to go home that everything got real. So I think when I was in the hospital, I felt like I was okay. Like, I couldn't believe that I had a whole human being there who came from me and I have to take care of this human being. But when I got home, then I realized that, I don't know, I just realized that I started crying so much. Like, every day I would cry. And I felt really bad. But I think right from the hospital, I felt like I didn't have a connection with my child. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. Because, like, you watch all these movies and, like, they take the child out and, like, the mother is so excited and it's like it's love at first sight. Exactly. Like they cried, they're excited, like, oh my God, I've waited so long to see you and everything. And I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like there was any of that connection, that mother-child bond that they talk about or you see in movies a lot.
How long did you realize this? Is it immediately you went home, or?
I think in the hospital, I felt like, it's like I'm seeing a human being, I'm breastfeeding him, but I didn't feel a connection. But I really, really felt it when I got home. I don't know why. I really felt it when I got home. you know. And so I remember talking to a friend, and that's when I said that later on, having talked to friends about the experiences came in handy, because I called a friend and I was like, I had a CS and I feel like I've been run over by a bus. What do I do? And then I told her that I don't feel any bond with the baby. And she was like, oh, it's normal. Sometimes a lot of people, sometimes it will take you 3 months. For her, with both of her children, it took her almost 6 months to actually feel like she had a bond with the baby. So what you see in the movies is not reality. It happens for some mothers, like immediately they see their baby, they are in love. But with majority, and I ended up asking, this made me ask a lot of other mothers I knew what their experience was when they had their baby, they felt the bond right away. And a lot of them said, I don't even remember, there was even one telling me that, I asked at least 10 people, let's say. I remember one of them even saying that, oh, I felt it immediately. All of them said they didn't feel any connection to the baby till months, weeks after, or months after. So before I spoke to her, I felt like a bad person. Like, why don't I have a connection with my child? Because it's like, it's a natural thing for a mother to feel. So what's going on with me? Am I a bad person? Like, am I a wicked person? You know, so that's how.
Did these people, do you think it has anything to do with the pain of vaginal labor?
I think I was dealing with that and then dealing with this at the same time. So I was dealing with the fact that I went through so much pain. And in the end, I felt like the pain was needless pain because I didn't push my baby out. Like, then right from when I got to the hospital at 5 o'clock, I should have just gone into the theater to have the CS, because I felt like it was needless pain I went through. So I was dealing with that. And then the recovery from the CS is something no one tells you about. Like, it's hard. Like, it's a major surgery, a major abdominal surgery. How to even get out of bed is a whole ball game altogether. And you're supposed to be taking care of a very tiny human who is very helpless. So like, and they're getting up every 2 hours to eat. So when they're crying, you have to summon the energy to get up out of bed without hurting yourself and hurting your wound, and feeding them, changing them, you know. So I literally felt like I'd been run over by a bus. I didn't know what to do. So that's when I ended up calling a friend. I actually spoke with 3 friends, and they took their time, and they all had cesarean. So like, they gave me tips and how they dealt with everything, which was so helpful. And I was so glad that I had spoken to them prior to giving birth, so that I knew who to call, because I had gone through that.
Yeah. How long did it last? And when did you finally feel the bond between you and your child? What was going through your mind all this while?
So because these friends had told me that it's normal, eventually you begin to feel the bond, I felt better about myself. Like, I didn't feel too bad about it. But exactly a week after he was born on a Saturday. So the following Saturday, which is like being alive for 7 days, I wept the whole day. And I couldn't figure out why I was weeping. So then my husband is like, what is going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. And I felt really terrible. I felt really terrible because I was like, there are so many women out there who don't have children. And you've been able to go through pregnancy, you've given birth, and your child has been alive for 7 days. I felt like the 7 days was very significant. You know, like how in our culture, you name a child, So it's like, if we're doing it traditionally, that day would have had the ceremony and everything. So it's like, why are you so sad? It's like, I was so sad that day, the whole day. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, this cute little human is alive and he's well. Why are you crying? You know? So I'm so glad I had my husband with me. And at that time, we were at my parents' house. But thankfully, I think for some reason that day they weren't home. So it was just us. So like I really cried. Like I was free to cry without being scared that my dad would walk in and be like, what's going on with you or something. So after that day, I think there were still days where I would really cry, but not as much as that particular day. So then that day I spoke to my cousin who was like, you should see a psychologist. And there's one in our church who is like very renowned. And a family friend as well. And I was like, no, I don't want to.
Why?
She's like, I don't know. Like now when I think about it, I'm like, I felt like I'll be okay. Or to be very honest, right now I do not know why I didn't want to. I felt like maybe I didn't want to sit in front of her and just cry. I mean, maybe I would have felt better or something, but I was like, maybe I'll be okay, you know. So that led me to talk to, I think she suggested somebody else who is a mother. And we have a rapport from church and everything. So I called her and spoke to her. No, I didn't call her. I think it was WhatsApp. But by the time I finished the conversation with her, I felt much better. But eventually, I never went to see a professional. So it went on for some weeks. The crying especially went on for some weeks. I felt like, what have I done? Like, who sent me to want to get pregnant? Sorry?
Were you regretting at some point?
I think so. It's like sometimes I'll just be like, what is this? Like, this is too much. I can't handle it. Like, who sent? Like, every time I would just ask myself, who sent me? Like, why was I in a hurry to get pregnant? Why was I in a hurry to have a child? Like, nobody told me about this aspect of motherhood because, you know, like, I feel like motherhood is so celebrated in our part of the world, you know. So it's like later when I sat down and I really thought about it, I was like, apparently it's something that is these feelings of baby blues. So baby blues happens within the first 2 weeks or after birth, but when it extends after that, then it's
going into the realm of
depression. And now learning that, and when I was watching all these videos prior to giving birth, I don't remember. It's like I'd heard about postpartum depression, but I mean, I
never
didn't think I would be. I never thought I would be depressed. I didn't bother reading about it or watching videos about people's experiences with it. So, you know, so it's like I sit down and I think about them, like, with the way motherhood is really celebrated in our culture, back then, what were our grandmothers and mothers doing when they felt that way? Who did they go to talk to without being judged? That's, what is wrong with you? You have your child, you know, so why are you behaving this way? Because I feel like that's my perception, that it's very possible that back then they wouldn't have anybody to talk to. They don't even know that it's even depression. They may think that there's something wrong with them, you know. So where was I going with this? But eventually, when it comes to feeling the bond with Sarah, I think it was about 3 months, getting to 4 months before I started feeling like we have a bond. Can I have the water, please?
Yes, please. I can get you water.
Hey, listen, we left it in.
I think I'm going to ask you...
Is it okay if I put it here? Or
sure.
I put it on the...
No, on the floor is better. I think I'm going to ask 2 questions. One, why did you feel the need to hide it from your parents? This feeling?
Not hide it per se, but I felt like if I have my husband and he actually, he doesn't fully understand me, but at least he's my spouse, he's my partner, and we've spoken about it, and he's there to support me. I thought of talking to my mom, but I was like, I've spoken to other people, so I think I'll be fine. So that's how I felt.
Okay. I think you've actually answered my next question with spousal support and getting through it. Yeah. So, do you think you lost any time with, the first 3 months?
No, because like I was always with him, seeing his milestones. Like when he develops one milestone or the other, like the excitement and everything is there. The bond was coming little by little, but I feel like once I resumed, and I think what also contributed to the way I was feeling was having to resume work earlier than the he wasn't quite 3 months when I resumed work, and I resumed work into like full-blown work.
Yeah.
So there were days I'll drop him off so I was feeling very, very overwhelmed. So I'll drop him off at my mom's place and then drive to work. And then on the way to work, I would have those feelings of, who sent me?
Yeah, what is this all about?
Why did I want to have a child? Like, how am I supposed to manage this? I can't. Like, I really cannot. So there were a few times I would actually park by the road and cry. And then continue to work. And most of the time when I park to cry, I would call my husband and say, this is how I'm feeling, and he'd be like, okay, it's okay. So I'll cry, and then wipe my tears and then go to work. And there were a few times I was like, I think I understand, not that I am condoning it, but I think I understand some women who just up and run away. Because like, they can't deal, it's like it's so much.
They don't understand it enough, and
Yes.
they don't have enough support enough to stay.
Yes. So I would say that also having a very supportive spouse or partner who doesn't brush aside your feelings, because I've heard of some people have shared how like their husbands are like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you feeling this way when your baby's alive, your baby's healthy?
Yeah.
Like
there's no
sort
empathy.
of invalidating their feelings.
My last question is a bit, I don't know how you're going to take it. Do you think you want to go through this again? Do you want to have another child? Do you think you're better prepared?
I think nobody is ever prepared for baby blues or postpartum depression. Maybe having gone through it, if I were to go through it again and I feel like baby blues has passed and I'm still feeling this way, I probably will see a professional. But I also have a feeling that I'll feel like, oh, I managed the first time, so I'll probably be fine the second time around. It's a 50-50, I can't really tell. With my husband and I, our biggest issue was the childbirth. The pregnancy was fine, but the childbirth really traumatized both of us. So we're like, I was like, I don't know when I want to do this again. I was like, okay, maybe when he turns. And at a point we decided that, oh, you know what? We don't have to have more than one child. One child is fine. But how people, and I wouldn't have a second one just because people are saying, no, you should add another one. So at a point I just shut up. When people say, oh, when is the second one coming? I just smile and I just walk away because I'm like, you don't know what I went through, And where were you throughout the first year of life? I think is the hardest. Once they cross that, you kind of find your rhythm and things get fine, So I'm like, I don't want to go through that again. So I feel like if I go through it again, first of all, I'm just gonna book a CS right away. No labor pain issues, or like we are not doing that. Even if there's epidural, we are not doing that. I joked to a friend that, my lady parts were spared the first time around. Let's just go do another CS and then be done with it. But it's like for the longest time, we just felt that I was at a point I was like, okay, maybe when he turns 5, then I'll have another one, or when he turns 4. And there are times where I felt really bad thinking that way, like it's okay, one child is fine. And people in the initial stages, when I mention it to people, when they ask, they're like, now your parents didn't even give birth to one. If they gave birth to only your brother, I have an older brother.
How is that even the same thing?
That's my point. That's my point. Somebody sees you. Hey, so are we working on baby number 2?
Are we who, you and who?
Ask again. So sometimes I give people the answer of a straight up no. And they're like, why? And then I just change the subject. Somebody would ask, oh, so when is baby number 2 coming? I'm like, I don't know, unless you ask God. And I really have given people that answer, like, next time you're praying, just ask God. Because I can't give you the answer. Because really, there are people who have been, if I could tell, I don't know why people ask that question. And I had a discussion with somebody about it, like, or people just do that as a form of, like, conversation. Like, they don't know what to ask. Like, there are so many other things you can ask somebody and not ask them about when is the first baby coming or when the second baby. If people had control over that, there wouldn't be people waiting to have kids for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. They are doing all the right things, but the baby is still not coming. So, and you don't know, like your previous episode, you don't know what somebody is going through. Maybe after they had their first child, they've had 2 miscarriages, and you're asking them, when is baby number 2 coming? Like,
yeah.
If you leave me, I'll rant about that all day.
Yeah. So I would rather let you rant about your channel so that people can check out your content and new mothers can learn. And I hope that this video is also something that a lot of new mothers in Ghana especially would watch. So tell them a bit more about your channel and some of the things that you do and would want to do so that like they can...
So on my channel, I talk about everything motherhood. So breastfeeding. So one of my experiences again with my watching all those YouTube videos was breastfeeding. Like, it didn't occur to me to watch videos about breastfeeding, how to breastfeed. Like, in your mind, it's a normal thing, it's a natural thing. You give birth, you put baby to breast, that's it. But there's a whole world about breastfeeding I did not know about until I started. One friend, I think a week after I gave birth, and I was complaining about how breastfeeding was so painful and everything, and she was like, there's different positions for breastfeeding. And when she showed me, I was like, wow. Then I went on YouTube and I started watching and learned that the child has to learn how to latch on, learn how to suck. You have to learn how to put baby to breast. So all of these things, I was like, I wish I could just give that information out to
which you were doing.
People. Exactly. So before I started the channel, I think after I gave birth, I had 4 other friends who were almost due. And I just sent them messages like, listen, if you plan on breastfeeding, just learn all you can about breastfeeding because you will need it, and it's not everybody who appreciates you just giving information like that. But if you have a YouTube channel, then I put the video there. You can watch it and learn something. So I'm a very big advocate for breastfeeding. So I talk about that a lot on my channel. People, apparently, I still don't understand it, but people love to see my everyday life as a mom. So they really love watching like the vlogs on my channel. So I do have a lot of vlogs, my day in my life as a working mom, taking care of my son, some of the things I do, so that you know that motherhood is not all about taking care of the child. You also need to have time for yourself, go out with friends and stuff like that. So there are lots of topics I deal with and things that if I felt like were a challenge for me, I like to talk about it. What are the other things I talk about? Language is a big thing with me, speaking your local language with your child. So I have a whole video of that with a professor in linguistics on my channel. I do have some videos or plans coming up, talking to other people in their experiences with nannies. It's a whole big thing altogether. Nannies, talking to pediatricians. I want to do a video with a doctor about the importance of folic acid. So I have such videos planned for the future. And then I also have recipes on my channel. So recipes for baby foods, things you can feed to your toddler, what you can pack in your toddler's snack box, and then just like recipes for the family, basically.
All right. So that's a good job. Um, long summary. So I would thank you very much, Esi, for sharing your story with us and sharing your moments of experience with everybody else who would find lessons from it. Yeah, so we'll catch you guys in the next episode. I put some information in the description to help raise funds for mothers who are going through certain challenges, even with paying for the hospital bills and everything, and other charities, which AC will help us decide if you want to contribute. So I'll put that information in our description. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Yeah, thank you.